I personally sent emails out to each of the professors in earth sciences at Utah Tech University regarding some concerns I have about test questions, and so far only one has responded to my emails. And that was Professor Vandermery, the department chair. Here is how our conversation went. Professor Vandermery, if I were to take your class and disagree with a test answer, would I be required to lie in order to pass your class? Am I required to answer test questions as if I agreed with the answers? Or do you give students room to disagree? NASA claims stars are formed by gas molecules clumping together in the vacuum of space. I don't agree with that. Gas doesn't clump together in a vacuum. It expands and fills the vacuum. If I am doing a Scantron test and am expected to say that is how stars are formed, I would feel required to lie by saying something I don't believe in. A simple solution to this problem is, instead of asking how are stars formed, ask how does NASA claim stars are formed? When you ask the question this way, I am able to separate myself from the question. I don't have a problem saying how NASA claims stars are formed. I have a problem with being expected to act like I agree with them. This is just one example that could be applied to many different kinds of questions. My big concern is, would your classes be safe for me regarding this matter? I look forward to your response. Kyle Adams.
Dear Kyle, thank you for your inquiry about the dynamics of test taking and the role of personal beliefs in answering questions. Your question raises some important considerations about the nature of academic discourse, particularly in scientific fields. First, let me address your example concerning the formation of stars. What you refer to as a claim by NASA is not merely an assertion but is based on a broad scientific consensus supported by observational data and theoretical models. While it is true that gas in a vacuum generally expands, this behavior is context dependent. In celestial formations of significant scale, gravitational forces come into play, allowing for the clumping of gas and matter. Hence, your understanding of how gases behave in a vacuum is correct but limited to specific conditions, often those we encounter at a local or smaller scale. The behavior of gas in the formation of stars is a different scenario entirely and is a subject of rigorous scientific scrutiny, not just a viewpoint espoused by NASA. As for the wording of test questions in my courses, it's crucial to note that the primary objective is to evaluate students based on the most accurate and current scientific understanding of a given topic. The questions are framed to assess whether students have grasped these accepted theories and can apply them appropriately. In that regard, the course does not provide a platform for disputing well-established scientific theories during examinations. However, classrooms are forums for intellectual discussion, and differing opinions are encouraged during classroom debates, provided they are supported by evidence and logical reasoning. I appreciate your suggestion to phrase questions in a way that indicates their source or the prevailing scientific view. While that can be illuminating in certain contexts, it may not be feasible to apply this uniformly across all questions in a standardized test, as it could unintentionally imply that these are merely claims rather than theories supported by extensive evidence. In summary, my courses are designed to be rigorous and to adhere to the best current scientific understanding of the subjects we cover. While I value open discourse, examinations are not the medium for that discourse. They are assessments meant to evaluate your understanding of well-established scientific principles. I hope this addresses your concerns. I strive to create an inclusive and intellectually stimulating environment in all of my classes, and I would be happy to continue this conversation if you have further questions. Marius.
Professor Vandermery, I appreciate your timely response. That means a lot to me. May I print that and publicly share that on campus? I would like to share student responses as to their thoughts on the matter. Concerning star formation, you said NASA is not merely an assertion, but is based on a broad scientific consensus supported by observational data and theoretical models. What consensus are you referring to? When or where was that poll cast to establish said consensus? Even if it is the consensus, that just appears to be an ad populum argument to me. What observations show us gas clumps together in a vacuum? You said in celestial formations of significant scale, gravitational forces come into play, allowing for the clumping of gas and matter. The gravity that causes the gas to clump together has to come from somewhere, and NASA simply claims it comes from the collapse of other stars. I'm sorry, their answer does not satisfy me. I see that as circular reasoning. The domino chain has to start somewhere. I understand that it isn't just NASA saying this, but various textbooks also. When NASA speaks, the textbooks and media outlets echo their remarks. I also understand the importance of a student's ability to show that they listened in class and remember the curriculum. I'm not against that at all. My concern, and the concern of many other students at Utah Tech, is whether or not we are forced to speak and act as if we agreed with your curriculum in order to pass your class. It is your class, and you can feel free to list all the sources you want during class. But during a test, if you ask how stars are formed and expect a student to say, "Stars are formed by gas molecules clumping together in the vacuum of space," and a student doesn't actually believe that, you are requiring a student to lie in order to pass your class. That is really concerning. I don't see how just that little change, according to X, how are stars formed, just naming one of the many sources you talked about in class, is so infeasible. Is it just infeasible for you because you are not the one writing the tests? Is this a matter for the Utah State Board of Education? I'm more than willing to talk to them. Your help is greatly appreciated. Kyle Adams.
Dear Kyle, regarding your inquiry about broad scientific consensus, the term doesn't refer to a poll but to the collective interpretation of empirical data by experts in the field. This consensus emerges over time through rigorous peer review, independent validation, and the accumulation of evidence from multiple lines of inquiry. In the realm of astrophysics, and specifically in star formation, this consensus has been shaped by decades of observational data and mathematical models. I'd like to clarify that this consensus is not synonymous with an ad populum argument. Rather, it's based on an extensive body of evidence that has been thoroughly examined and tested for validity. While scientific knowledge is ever evolving, well-established theories, like star formation, have withstood considerable scrutiny. You raise an interesting point about the origins of the gravitational forces that allow for the aggregation of gas and matter in space. It's a complex topic and one that science is continually investigating. However, the prevailing scientific understanding does not resort to circular reasoning. Instead, it relies on a variety of astrophysical phenomena and processes that have been carefully modeled and observed. Regarding your concerns about academic integrity and the curriculum, I fully recognize the importance of respecting individual perspectives. That said, the objective of exams and coursework is to evaluate your understanding of the scientific theories and principles as they are generally accepted by the scientific community, not necessarily to measure personal beliefs. Nevertheless, I understand your suggestion about framing questions in terms of specific sources and will give it due consideration. Is this a matter for the Utah State Board of Education? I believe this issue primarily concerns pedagogical choices at the classroom level. However, if you still feel strongly about this, you are, of course, welcome to bring it to higher authorities. You're welcome to share my response with your peers on campus. I'd only ask that you present it in its full context to ensure that the nuances of the discussion are captured accurately. Best regards, Marius. P.S. I encourage you to continue exploring these topics. The pursuit of scientific understanding is a journey that is as complex as it is rewarding.
You said a consensus is a collective interpretation of empirical data by experts in the field. That is an unspecified population group. Essentially, you are telling me you have a consensus of X out of X, and you appear to expect that to have some kind of persuasive power. A claim like that doesn't work on me. Specifics are far more convincing. It is based on an extensive body of evidence is too vague a claim to hold any value. Nonetheless, it is beside the point. The main point being whether or not I would be required to lie if I were to take your class. You also said, I believe this issue primarily concerns pedagogical choices at the classroom level. When pedagogical means teacher's choice, that tells me who is to be held accountable. It is essential to not trample on a student's beliefs, to force a student to act like they agree with the curriculum when they actually do not in a state-run school can be seen as infringing upon the freedom of religion. That is a federal charge. A person should not have to deny their religion in order to pass a class in a state-run school. If you ask a question like, when did the Big Bang happen? Rather than, when does a textbook or whatever source say the Big Bang happened? Expecting the student to say 13.8 billion years ago, and your student religiously does not believe in the Big Bang or human evolution, if your question was about that would be infringing upon the freedom of religion. Please also keep in mind that according to Forbes magazine, 1/3 of American millennials were not even sure if the Earth was a globe. There are also many religious people out there who believe the Bible abides a flat Earth cosmology. With that being the case, without proper framing, by requiring a student to speak as if they believed in the globe, that can be seen as infringing upon their religious rights. I'm not trying to single you out by any means. I understand this is a problem in most schools, as far as I am aware of, across the United States. I'm currently trying to work with the Utah State Board of Education to try and resolve this matter in regard to Utah schools. In the meantime, please keep in mind that they are accountable for their tests, and you are accountable for yours. We need to encourage education rather than indoctrination. Indoctrination means the process of teaching a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. When you do not allow students to have their own individual views, that is what you're left with. Utah needs better than that. I sincerely hope these changes are not as infeasible as you claim. My opening question for you was, would your classes be safe for me regarding this matter? By all appearances, until this is resolved, your answer appears to be a resolute no. Your classes would not be safe for me regarding this matter. Kyle Adams. That email was sent on Monday, October 2nd, and Professor Vandermeer has not responded since. Nonetheless, I have been over there pounding concrete at Utah Tech, collecting student opinions to show that I am not alone in this. There are many other students there who share my views. This is a problem that needs fixing. Even if you're not a student there, please join me in the cause. I've got phone numbers and emails here that have been posted publicly on the Utah Tech website. Reach out. Your voice matters. Not just here, but at every school. Together, we can make a difference.